Hello, my name is Mr. Fisher, and this week we'll be learning about some of the most important chemical reactions that occur to support life. For this week's async video, we will be discussing photosynthesis, cellular respiration, and the corresponding organelles that aid in their unique relationship. Right now, even though you may just be sitting down watching this video, your body is using energy. You need energy just to think, breathe, and pump blood throughout your body. So where do we get this energy? You might be thinking it comes from the food or drinks that we eat, which is true, but ultimately your food comes from plants. Even if you eat a diet rich in meat and dairy, those animals originally got their energy from plants, which was transferred to you when you ate them. But where do plants get their energy to begin with? Plants are autotrophs, it's one of our key vocabulary words, or organisms that make their own food through a process called photosynthesis. Plants use photosynthesis to convert light energy from the sun to a more usable form during a process called energy transformation. Humans use energy transformations as well. Our bodies, which take in energy stored in food and converts it to a form that the body can use. We call this process cellular respiration. Today, we will learn about each of these processes as they happen and compare and contrast photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Photosynthesis, as I discussed earlier, is the process plants use to convert energy from the sun into usable energy for their cells. Plants use the light energy from the sun, carbon dioxide, and water to make glucose, a sugar, and oxygen. The energy of the sun is captured and stored in the bonds between atoms and the glucose molecules. Let us introduce a little music in our lesson to help us better understand this process.
Vocabulary in the building. You ever wonder how a plant survives? How does it even get its food? Today we're gonna talk about photosynthesis. You with me?
Photosynthesis is something like a miracle, converting light energy into energy that's chemical. The process in plants is part of the carbon cycle. The flow of carbon is the key to life, yeah, it's vital. Photosynthesis is something like a miracle, converting light energy into energy that's chemical. The process in plants, part of the carbon cycle. The flow of carbon is the key to life, yeah, it's vital.
There are three things a plant needs to use for photosynthesis, which is how it makes food. The recipe includes CO2, H2O, and sunlight. Yeah, a plant needs all three to make sure that it's done right. CO2 is carbon dioxide, which enters the leaves from the atmosphere, just in case it wasn't clear. H2O is water. How does it get to a leaf? It comes from the soil up through the roots to keep it brief. Have you ever seen inside of plant cells? That's where you find chloroplasts. They're the organelles that contain chlorophyll, which makes plants green. And chloroplast photosynthesis happens. Know what I mean? Chlorophyll is a pigment and traps the sun's energy, so it could be converted for use as chemical energy. What happens chemically? You know we have to ask. A synthesis takes place inside of the chloroplast. Through photosynthesis, a synthesis or combination takes place inside of the chloroplast. Light energy is used to convert 6 CO2 molecules and 6 H2O molecules into one molecule of C6H12O6, which is glucose, and 6 O2 molecules, which are oxygen. Are you with me? Let's go.
Photosynthesis is something like a miracle, converting light energy into energy that's chemical. The process in plants is part of the carbon cycle. The flow of carbon is the key to life, yeah, it's vital. Photosynthesis is something like a miracle, converting light energy into energy that's chemical. The process in plants, part of the carbon cycle. The flow of carbon is the key to life, yeah, it's vital.
About that synthesis, let me give more information about the molecules that came from that combination. The O2 that was produced, that's oxygen. Plants release most of it because it's not for them. It goes back in the atmosphere, that's good for you. And for me, because I breathe in that oxygen too. The other molecule that came from the synthesis is called glucose. A simple sugar's what it is. See, the oxygen was is really just a byproduct, but glucose plants need and survive off it, needed for cellular respiration, which gives cells the energy to function and avoid degradation. See, photosynthesis and cellular respiration are complementary processes. They work in combination, products of one of the reactants of the other one. Our cells need glucose too. So do we use the sun, take its energy, and photosynthesize? No, we get ours from food like veggies and bread buys. See, plants make their own glucose, that's an autotroph. And this is where the hook goes, let me drop it off.
Photosynthesis is something like a miracle, converting light energy into energy that's chemical. The process in plants is part of the carbon cycle. The flow of carbon is the key to life, yeah, it's vital. Photosynthesis is something like a miracle, converting light energy into energy that's chemical. The process in plants, part of the carbon cycle. The flow of carbon is the key to life.
To summarize our video, photosynthesis takes place in the leaves of the plant. First, water is pumped into the plant through the roots. This water passes up the plant stem and into the leaves. Next, plants have to capture carbon dioxide from the air. Carbon dioxide is absorbed into the plant's leaf through small openings called stomata. Photosynthesis is now ready to take place, but it needs energy. The energy to fuel photosynthesis comes from sunlight. Plants' leaves have cells that contain chloroplast. These chloroplasts represent the magic parts of photosynthesis, and this is where it takes place inside of the chloroplast. The chloroplasts also contain chlorophyll, which is the pigment that gives leaves their green color. The chloroplasts combine the carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight and turn them into sugar and oxygen. Sugar, which is a carbohydrate, which we studied earlier in the semester, can be used by the plant or used by your body if you eat the plant. The oxygen is released into the air through the stomata on the plant's leaves. We breathe oxygen to stay alive. So plants give us food and oxygen, but the oxygen is a byproduct. That's why plants are extremely important to our survival. If we dig a little deeper into photosynthesis, we find that those tiny compartments where photosynthesis occurs in the chloroplast use a pigment called chlorophyll, which makes the plants green. The first energy transformation occurs when light energy from the sun is converted to chemical energy in the form of adenine triphosphate, or ATP, and another molecule known as NADPH. ATP and NADPH provide the energy needed for the next energy transformation. The plant cells then use ATP and NADPH to assemble molecules of carbon dioxide and other carbon chains into glucose molecules. The glucose molecules can then be linked together to form cellulose, which is a complex carbohydrate, which, once again, we studied earlier in the semester, which plants can use to grow new leaves and stems. The reactions in photosynthesis are referred to as anabolic reactions, or chemical reactions that are used to store energy and create molecules. These types of reactions usually require an initial input of energy. In the case of photosynthesis, light energy from the sun is that initial energy, and it produces larger molecules like glucose. On another note, cellular respiration is a different type of reaction called a catabolic reaction, where complex molecules are broken down to release energy. In cellular respiration, glucose and oxygen are used to make ATP, and carbon dioxide is released as a byproduct or as a waste product. Some cells perform cellular respiration in a compartment similar to the chloroplast called the mitochondria. The first step of cellular respiration is to get glucose into the cells. Once the cells have glucose, they use a series of chemical reactions to break down the glucose. As the atoms in glucose are broken apart, they release energy. The energy is captured as ATP, as well as the molecule NADPH. The energy stored in NADH is later transformed into more ATP. Your body then uses the ATP to perform all of the processes it needs to, including powering your brain and our eyes as we watch our video. So let's utilize a little more music to help us better understand the process of cellular respiration. As always, we're paying close attention to the academic vocabulary as we discussed a little bit earlier in our introduction to cellular respiration.
Gives us energy, that fact set tight. But our cells can't just eat burgers, right? Our bodies breaking food down, the name is glucose. The simple sugars that our cells need the most. Then cells convert glucose to energy, and that's biology, meeting chemistry. Glucose to energy, there's no debating. It goes by the name of cellular respiration. It's aerobic when it needs oxygen, like the Revolutionary War needed Washington. Glucose and oxygen starts aerobic respiration, kinda like GW started the nation. Okay, so animals get oxygen from breathing, and glucose comes from the food that we eating. But plants get glucose from photosynthesis. It all depends on what the organism is. Aerobic respiration gives us 1, 2, 3. Carbon dioxide, water, and ATP. ATP is adenosine triphosphate, the energy-rich substance. It's no lightweight. ATP's energy is in its phosphates, bound together like Jay-Z and Beyonce. And when the bonds break, the energy's free. And if you alive and breathing, then that's what your cells need.
Food to glucose, that's digestion. Glucose to ATP, that's cellular respiration. Cellular respiration, it's not about breathing, it's giving the cells all the energy they're needing. Food to glucose, that's digestion. Glucose to ATP, that's cellular respiration. Cellular respiration, it's not about breathing, it's giving the cells all the energy they're needing.
Almost every cell from here to Somalia, most of this happens in the mitochondria, the all of the nails inside our cells. And with oxygen, you know it all works well. But what if you running low on oxygen? And it's not like you can write to your congressman. And when you running full speed, there may not be enough oxygen for the energy you need. Do your cells fail? No, it's amazing. The backup plan is fermentation, which breaks glucose into ATP and lactic acid. One a reason for your muscle cramps, well that's it. Fermenting yeast and grapes make wine, and fermentation makes bread rise. Whether it's by aerobic respiration or without oxygen, like in fermentation, you need ATP in order to survive. It provides the energy you need to stay alive. Adenosine triphosphate, ATP, what the glucose in your body is about to be.
Moreover, photosynthesis and cellular respiration are similar in that they both require an input of energy and transformation and transform it into a usable form. In photosynthesis, the starting energy starts out as a form of light, and in cellular respiration, the starting energy is stored in the chemical bonds of glucose. Think of these processes in terms of baking or cooking. If you have flour, sugar, and eggs and butter, you can pretty much make any kind of dessert. You could use these starting ingredients to make a cake, muffins, or bread. Even though they're the similar ingredients, different recipes come up and create different products, all right? Cellular respiration and photosynthesis both start with energy. They just end up in different forms, kind of like our recipes. Photosynthesis and cellular respiration are dependent upon each other. The energy transformations that occur in photosynthesis are used to drive the reactions in cellular respiration. Let's take a look at another example. Grass is a plant and it uses photosynthesis to make its own food. When it transforms light energy into chemical energy in the form of glucose, the glucose is used to form new plant structures, and the grass grows. The cows in the field consume the grass and break down the glucose during the process of cellular respiration. The chemical energies in glucose is converted to ATP and used to power the cow, allowing it to stay alive and grow. So as we see, there is a circular relationship between photosynthesis and cellular respiration that provides the essentials for organisms like ourselves and others to live on this planet, okay? I hope this provides a better understanding of the chemical reactions of photosynthesis and cellular respiration. You may have to watch this video several times, but it should and will provide a worthwhile resource to you in the process of studying this week. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you soon.